What's Your Why? In this webcast series, we will interview influential people from many different backgrounds. Our goal is to discover their purpose, their passion, and why they chose the path they are on. Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Your Why? For this month, I'm very honored to have Sondra Lavoie with me. How are you, Sondra?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're coming to us from Boise, Idaho today, aren't you?
Yep, the potato state.
Yep. And I got to know Sondra, everybody. She is involved very heavily with the American Society of Safety Professionals. And for the last 2 years, I believe, Sondra, you've been the secretary for the Puget Sound chapter.
Yes, I am grateful and honored to give service at the local Puget Sound chapter and also taking some initiatives that you guys are allowing me to be proactive with.
And I will say that you have set the bar. The secretary role might be one of the toughest roles within any chapter, or within ASSP, there are three different kind of segments under national under society. You have common interest groups, you have practice specialties, and then you have the chapters. And being a chapter secretary is a ton of work. And you really do a good job of keeping everybody in shape, making sure you have everything, sending out meeting announcements. And like I said, you've really set the bar compared to what we experienced in the previous, say, 5 years or so. So thank you.
I'm honored. I'm grateful.
I was also lucky enough to see you present on a topic at our PDC in May down south of Seattle, and I was very impressed by your presentation skills. You were captivating, and I think the audience was very engaged in your presentation. And being that that's the first time I've actually seen you present in people, I was very inspired, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you because I think people need to know you. People need to know safety professionals who are out there making a difference. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about you, who you work for, what you do, and kind of how you got into safety?
Well, I work for a company called Sompo, and I am an AVP in risk management, and I'm a risk control specialist. So I cover multiple lines of insurance, making sure people and their product and their buildings are safe. I actually started in the School of Hard Knocks. I was a receptionist when I started in construction. I worked for an HVAC company, and I am very fortunate that people took me under their wing and allowed me to learn the trades. Going from HVAC to doing specialty practices, going right into concrete placing, then being a bid runner, and really learning the construction trade from birth, cradle to grave. And that's something that I find very valuable as a safety professional. One day I raised my hand and said, I can do an OSHA log. And that was the birth of Safety Sondra. and eventually went back to school, got my degree in occupational safety and health, went and got my certifications through the BCSP, which I'm a huge and an ambassador for the BCSP as somebody who advocates for safety professionals and getting those certificates. And I now am the Assistant WISE Women in Safety and Women in Safety Excellence Assistant Administrator, incoming administrator for the ASSP. And the best honor is being the Puget Sound chapter secretary, as you stated. So that's kind of a little bit in where I am with leadership.
Well, you said that when you were working for that HVAC company as a receptionist, that they gave you the opportunity to work your way up into safety. My guess is that they didn't just give it to you. You're a go-getter. You went and took it. You went and got it. And that's a message people need to understand because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that anything is for the taking out there if you set your mind to it and you create a plan. And I get the impression that you do that with everything that you do.
You know, I do seek opportunity. When I had the opportunity to come over to the ASSP Puget Sound, I was talking to our former chapter president, Brian, and I'm like, do you have an opportunity for me to step up? Do you have an opportunity? Even though I'm not in the region, I live in Boise, Idaho, I'm able to give to our community of safety in Puget Sound and be the person that sends out the emails that says, hey, we're doing this opportunity to go here and to go here, and we're doing this for you. And he said yes. And I said, let's see what we can do to collaborate. And it has been the most enjoyable opportunity that I have sought out, becoming the wise assistant administrator. I saw the opportunity that I said, I have the time to give back to the community of women and women in safety excellence. And just saying yes and seeing if that's a really good fit for me was tremendously successful. And knowing that I gave myself a lot of grace, that I knew I wasn't going to be perfect, but I gave myself that grace to take that opportunity.
And we're lucky that you did. And the Puget Sound chapter is, I don't know if this is still the right number, but we were the third largest chapter in all of ASSP, approaching almost 700 members. We have a north section in Mount Baker, up in Bellingham, Mount Vernon. We have a southern section down in, I said chapter, I meant section.
Mhm.
We have a southern section in Olympia, and we have a student section in Ellensburg at Central Washington University. So we're a very large chapter. And I've been active with the chapter for at least 25 years. I actually joined as a student section member 1992 to 94 in Ellensburg. And then I graduated, took a hiatus, and then I rejoined ASSP, and I've been active ever since. And I think we all volunteer for different reasons. Now, I know that you were bestowed an honor this last year that very few get the opportunity to receive, and that is the Presidential Recognition Award from the president of ASSP for your involvement with WISE. And I know that, congratulations on that, by the way. That's
Thank you.
incredible. And that's something that you want on your wall for sure. But I don't think that's why you do it. You don't do anything for an award. And I know that this last year that you helped to establish a WISE section here in Seattle that, to my understanding, has been wildly successful so far. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think that when you have the opportunity to be a leader in your community, you need to really focus on where you're going to make impact. Where's your legacy going to be? And how do you succession up the next leaders? I think those are the goals that I look at when I come in and say, hey, I want to start a common interest group. And I think that this community of 600 plus people in the Washington, Seattle area, the Washington state, really could benefit from. How do I start this? How do I get the right people in place to improve? And there's always room for improvement. So when it came to WISE, I was like, we have a delegation of women. We have more now. At the beginning, we had 68 women in WISE that did not have a community to meet. I'm like, let's give it to them. We can do this. Let's see what companies can step up, where we can even do an online community. Where can we give back to our communities? And recently, we did our president, Robin, who was our first president of the Puget Sound Wise. I wanted to just give her her flowers. She hosted a drive for a women's shelter, a local women's shelter, where we were all able to donate and give back to these women who are trying to find their footing and their success story. And that's what I believe we do. Not only do we serve our safety community as leaders, but we also go out in our communities where we live day in and day out and serve as leaders and let people know not only are they physically safe, but they're also mentally safe and they're safe coming to us.
I agree. And I want to touch on two things. One is you talked about the success of the chapter or a WISE section, a common interest group, a practice specialty. I know I'm involved in at the society level with the awards and honors committee. We evaluate status of the practice specialties, whether they achieve different recognition levels based on their efforts. And then I lead the mentoring program for the consultant practice specialty group. And then I'm involved at the chapter level, and it's tremendously rewarding to me. But the one thing I've observed over 25 years in the Puget Sound chapter is the ebb and the flow, or the cycle of engagement, sustainability, and continuity, and how it kind of, again, it ebbs and it flows. And a lot of that is not a lot of it. All of it is dependent upon leadership. You have a great leadership team, that collaborates and there's nothing you can't accomplish. But you bring one bad leader in who, um, I've seen it at least 3 times where we had somebody volunteer to be the president of our chapter, and then during the middle of their term, they just disappeared. And luckily, we've learned from those events how to build sustainability in and how to develop that next layer of leadership. And I think that's so critical with any volunteer organization, because I've seen it in scouting, I've seen it in school, I've seen it in sports with my kids. And I think it's so critical. And right now, I feel like the Puget Sound chapter has maybe the strongest leadership group we've had in many, many years. And I'm super excited about that. And the other thing is you talk about the importance to you, your legacy. And I mean, I completely reflect what you're saying, but you have a day job, you have
Mhm.
personal demands at home, and yet you're contributing and volunteering your time to promote women in safety excellence, to support the chapter. What really truly, I know you touched on it, but what really truly drives you to volunteer your time in this capacity?
Well, if this is the one thing that anyone takes away from this whole message that we are trying to deliver, is that showing up, just showing up and being present and being ethical can take you so far. Saying yes and having those those three elements, showing up, being present, and being ethical, will open so many doors for you that you will make an impact. You will make an impact. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the best of it. You just have to show up, be present, and be ethical. And those are the three things that I think that makes a great safety professional. And that would be the takeaway that I would have throughout this whole message that we're trying to deliver.
I agree. And I think my feeling is that people try to overcomplicate legacy and contribution. And the reality is we set an example on a daily basis. And what we can control is our approach, our views, our attitude, and and what we do every single day, right? The example we set. But on another note, I think from a greater kind of a leadership perspective, I believe that as safety leaders, our role is to develop and open the door for future people like you as a receptionist at an HVAC contractor. You've turned into a tremendous safety leader because somebody opened that door for you. And
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that you help develop people, you mentor people, you coach people, you support them. You're there, through the good and the bad, and you're leaving a lasting legacy by doing that. So, um, any kind of final thoughts?
Well, I first want to let people know they can connect with me through LinkedIn at Sondra Lavoie. Um, I look like my picture. So you'll see the glasses, you'll see the silver hair. And I'm very good at answering questions, helping people out, getting them to the resources through the ASSP. There's so many great resources. Like I said, I'm the assistant administrator to WISE. I am the secretary for this great chapter, the Puget Sound, but also I am your BCSP ambassador. If you're interested in getting any of your certifications, I'm here to answer those questions and say yes. I would like people to be more open to saying yes. You never know what is going to be asked of you until you say yes and ask the right questions like, what does this opportunity have for me? What does this job open up for me? Where's my growth? And as you said, being a mentor, it's easy to answer a few questions to anyone. So, yeah, I just think being able to reach out to me, finding me is a great way to start. And I'm always open to helping my peers.
You guys heard her. Connect with Sondra. And I know, Sondra, you're planning to go to Safety 2026 in Anaheim. I am as well at this point. There is an ASSP booth in the exhibition hall. Set up a meeting with us. Let's sit down. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's chat. And Sondra, really, thanks for being here with us today. Really appreciate your time and really appreciate everything you're doing for the community.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Bye bye.